Okay, so I popped in on each group, but I'd like us all to share. So what are some takeaways from your discussion that you think would be useful to share with everybody? Don't be shy. Do you guys want to raise hands if you don't want to make the mistake of starting to talk and someone else starts to talk at the same time?
Oh, should I? We had something from our group. Was that kind of between both articles? A lot of like what people are doing was to please others and not themselves, and that we were talking about just like a lot of people today like don't take a second to think like, why am I doing this? Like for Alexander, like why was he doing that? Was that for himself or is that for others? So kind of our takeaway was that people need to kind of take a second to think, are they doing this for themselves, or are they doing this because they want other people to like them and or see them in a different way?
Uh-huh. Okay, so for Alexander, let's just stay with that as an example. Why did he change his body the way he did? Was that for himself or was that for others? Or was it both?
It was for others. And also it mentioned that like his parents even made comments about his weight. So that's like has a lot to do with it as well, I think.
Yeah. And let's see. Arthur just said social pressure. That was the main reason, right? Was social pressure. And Alexander says so. Okay, as Annie just pointed out, his parents were putting pressure on him. His peers or other boys were putting pressure on him. Okay, and girls, right? Were putting pressure on him. You know, it wasn't like they were saying, God, dude, you're fat to him, but their lack of interest in him is a kind of pressure. It's a subtle pressure. And he wanted girls to be interested in him. Right? And he wanted friends, and he wanted, you know, guy friends and girlfriends. And he wanted to not be made fun of. So that's all about social pressure. Right? But then did he kind of like the way he looked and felt after he changed his body?
No, in the end of the day, he was still finding like flaws within himself. Like he would stare in the mirror and he would like see something was uneven and he'd be like, oh, I need to work out this or I need to do this. Like he would still see the little imperfections within himself. So he was
Yeah.
never really like content with himself.
Yeah. Can you draw a connection between that observation, Samantha, and the stuff we talked about for essay 1, consumer culture? Never being content with how you look? Or anybody
I
else?
think honestly, I think you can draw connections with between like both articles and the consumer culture because if you go well, I don't know. I saw a connection between the last quote. I think it was from paragraph or like page 4, the last one that you added about like us pleasing others. He was doing it like Annie said that he was doing it because of like social pressures and because he wanted to like be accepted into society. But then they also talked about like supplements that he took. So I don't know, I feel like you can really draw connections to a lot of things with that piece.
Yeah. Yeah, you're totally right. Remember, Derek Ashani makes the argument about consumerism against Twitchell, who says that we know exactly what we're doing and it makes us happy to consume the way we do. And Derek Ashani says, but yeah, it's only temporary. We can't ever be satisfied or at rest. We're constantly anxious. And why? Because consumerism wants us to be. It doesn't want us to ever be happy with what we have or what we look like. Otherwise, we'll stop buying stuff. And then consumerism won't work. People have to buy stuff in order for it to work. All right, but I like this quote a lot that you referenced, Samantha, the one, especially the part about not asking for help. And even if they did, a lot of them would underrepresent what the problem was, because you're not supposed to ask for help if you're a guy. If you can't ask for directions when you're lost in a foreign city, how are you going to ask for help about something so personal as your body or your mind or your emotions. Okay. You know, and my husband doesn't even like to use maps, you guys. My husband doesn't like to use maps. And when he's driving, I better not try and say, hey, you should turn left here. It's like, I'll figure it out. Like, okay, all right, I'm just trying to help. Okay. Anyway, so, but you guys should be doing that too. And I heard some of you doing it in your groups, is drawing connections between texts, between, you know, concepts, consumerism and gender, right? And between your own observations and your own experiences. Samantha, you were talking about, you know, being a bit of a sporto as a kid, right? But then as you got into high school, you're like, I don't know. I feel kind of weird about this. And then other people telling you that you shouldn't be doing the things that you want to do, right, Samantha? Remember that? You were talking about your job and how you know a lot of stuff on your job, and you know all of the areas where you work, and you have guy friends and other people in your life telling you shouldn't be doing that because it's not appropriate for a girl to do. All right. So what else? What else did you guys talk about? William, are you going to speak or type?
My group talked about, like, I was in a group with Samuel where we talked about kind of how people are just doing things for others, and kind of tied that into the quote about how men are kind of disconnected from their emotions. And I feel like that can also be tied into consumerism, where, I mean, men are always advertised as supposed to just be like strong, emotionless, like men don't cry. We're supposed to be strong, protective, and not scared. Like, so I feel like that feeds into that. Like, men, they think they're supposed to suppress their emotions because of that image that media creates around men being like manly, not weak.
Yeah, good connections. Okay. I also remember you guys talking about whether or not boys or girls, or the extent to which boys or girls experience a loss of something essential about themselves when they hit adolescence, because the culture demands that they give that stuff up and do something else. Do you remember that, you guys? What you were saying about losing your true self? I think you were talking about the question at the end of Pfeiffer, where it's like, do you think she thinks boys and girls experience the same kind of thing, same kind of pressure? And what did you guys say about that?
Are you talking about our group specifically?
Yeah, I remember you guys talking about that question, about whether or not, or maybe it wasn't you. I can't remember now.
We were more talking about, I think, Pfeiffer, her article, and how Polly lost like a part of her when she hit adolescence, and that kind of like tomboyish, outgoing, you know, playing sports with the boys. We didn't really talk as much about if guys lost anything, but
Okay.
I mean, I think both boys and girls do. I mean, they have to kind of conform to the social standards and kind of how they look, how they act.
Okay. And do you think, and this is for anybody, you guys think that males and females equally are asked by society to give up certain behaviors or ways of being once they hit adolescence? Or do you think it happens more to girls than boys, or vice versa?
I feel like it happens a little bit more to girls.
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, like, I just feel like girls naturally as a kid, I feel like it's weird to even label activities like sports and climbing or whatever like as masculine, because I don't think there is a label. It's just something that kids like to do. But if you want to label activities, then you could say that girls naturally gravitate as kids towards masculine activities more than boys tend to gravitate towards feminine activities. Like sometimes girls tend to play sports and be kind of boyish when they're young, but you don't see as many boys like playing with princess figures and wearing a dress, you know, like it's not as common to see boys cross that line as girls. So I feel like that's why you see it in girls more.
Yeah. I read an article recently about boys who do ballet
Mm-hmm.
and how much grief they get from everybody, right? Because they want to dance ballet, you know, like some of the most famous ballet dancers are extreme heterosexual males. Some of the most famous masculine male ballet dancers, you know, they're known for being very promiscuous with ballerinas and other people. Jerry Rice did ballet. Oh, I did not know that. That's the football player, right,
Yeah, I
William?
think there's been quite a few football players who have actually said that they've practiced ballet just for
Because
balance.
it's really rigorous as a practice. You have to be super strong.
I know a lot of
to do it.
UFC fighters do it now too.
Sorry, William?
A lot of UFC fighters do it now, like how Josh said, for balance and stuff like that.
Oh, wow. I did not know that, but that's interesting. But it is still a very gendered activity, isn't it? It's just that they're so strong and nobody questions their masculinity, right? Unless they want to risk getting hurt. You're not going to question a UFC fighter's masculinity, right? But little boys, they get a lot of guff if they want to do ballet. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna suspend, not end, but suspend this conversation because we're going to keep going with it next week. Just to talk to you about what's coming up. Let me share my screen with you. Whoops, God, my mouse is so sensitive today. Criminy. Okay, stop it. Stop scrolling. All right, so this assignment is something you've done already, a kind of thing you've done already. It's an article with questions that you answer in Canvas. And I don't think we have any discussion leaders for Kimmel yet, you guys. So as I said in my announcement, if I don't get any, okay, I'll just make up an alternate assignment that everybody does. Okay, Tyne, you can leave if you need to, that's fine. I'm gonna end this in a couple minutes. But this is one I wanted to look at with you because we haven't done this kind of assignment yet. All right, this is a discussion assignment. All right, and there's a documentary here, which I've tested and retested. So, you know, we're not really supposed to have access free to this film, but I found it online. So, hallelujah, we don't have to pay for it. Okay, the film is called Misrepresentation. Has anybody seen it before? It's about 8 years old now. Okay, but as with Merchants of Cool, these issues have not gone away, you guys. And it's kind of distressing that how prevalent they still are and how even worse they have become, some of these issues that are discussed in this documentary. Has anybody seen it? No, nobody?
No, I have not seen this.
Thank you, Anthony, for responding. Okay, all right, well, you can play it from right here, just play it there. You can make it bigger there. All right, and it's linked, as I said, right there. And then you post 2 comments, at least, minimum, about this documentary. One comment that's your own observation about it, something about it that you thought was interesting or important, okay, or productive for a discussion. The hope here is that this will be a fruitful exchange that you guys have in Canvas. But at least 2 comments, one of your own and one that where you respond to somebody else's comment. Okay, is that clear? Any questions about that? All right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now so I can see you all better, or see your little black boxes with your white letters in them. And I'm gonna let you go. All righty, any questions about anything? Thank you, Arthur. Arthur's happy to be let go. Okay,
Is there
guys.
a midterm?
Sorry?
Is there a midterm for this class?
There's no midterm. There are no tests in this class. Just essays.
Wait, so
Okay.
there's a final, right?
What, Josh?
Is there a final?
There's a final. It's an essay exam.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just an essay though. Okay, it'll be easy. Don't worry. All right. The only sort of testing thing I do in this class is quizzes, and even those are pretty easy, right? They're not supposed to catch you slipping. All right. I'll let you guys go. See you next week.
Thank you.
Contact
Have
me
a
if you
good
have
day.
any issues. You too. Thank you.
Bye. See you
Bye
next week.
bye.